The rejection. In a small, quiet town, there was a young boy named Malik. He was full of dreams and hopes for a better future. But despite all his good qualities, he faced something no child should ever face: rejection. The rejection wasn't because of anything he had done. It was because of something he had no control over: his skin color. Malik's journey began at an adoption agency. The walls of the agency were lined with pictures of children waiting for families to call them their own. Some were older, others younger, and many were from different backgrounds, just like Malik. He wasn't the only child there, but there was something about his eyes, full of hope, yet sad, that made him stand out. Malik had been waiting for months for a family to choose him. He was kind, smart, and full of energy. He loved to read books and would often be found with his nose in a science magazine or a history book. His dream was simple: to have a family who loved him, no matter what. But that wasn't the reality Malik faced. Each time a family came to the agency, they would look at him, and Malik would try his best to smile. He hoped this would be the family that would take him home. But every time, without fail, they would look away or shake their heads. Some said they were looking for a child who looked more like them. Others didn't say anything but gave a look that spoke volumes. He didn't fit their idea of the perfect child. Malik tried to stay hopeful, but it became harder with each passing day. His heart ached each time he saw the other children get picked. He would smile for them, but deep inside, he was beginning to lose hope. Would anyone ever choose him? He had seen the other children get picked, one by one. Some were picked because of their smile, their charm, or their appearance. But Malik couldn't change the way he looked. He knew deep down that he was a good child. He had so much to offer, but he couldn't change his skin color. And that, it seemed, was the one thing that mattered most. He often wondered why people cared so much about something so small, something he had no say in. He knew he was more than his appearance. He had a loving heart, a sharp mind, and a kind soul. Why couldn't they see that? One afternoon, a new couple walked into the agency. They were white, in their mid-30s with kind eyes. Malik sat quietly in his chair, watching them as they looked at the pictures on the wall. He felt a flicker of hope inside him. Maybe, just maybe, this would be the family. He watched as they spoke to the social worker, pointing at various children. His heart raced. Could this be it? The couple walked over to where Malik sat. They smiled at him, but their smile didn't feel the same as the others. It was warm, but not genuine. Malik stood up, hoping that this time would be different. He smiled, his nervousness creeping in. He didn't want to be rejected again. "Hello, Malik," the woman said softly, her voice friendly but distant. "How are you today?" Malik was careful not to let his disappointment show. He had learned to be polite, to put on a brave face, no matter how he felt inside. "I'm good," he replied. The couple sat down across from him. They asked him about his interests, his favorite subjects in school, and what he dreamed of doing when he grew up. Malik answered them the best he could, trying to seem excited. But in the back of his mind, he couldn't help but wonder, would they choose him, or would they walk away just like the others? After a few minutes, the couple stood up. The woman gave Malik a soft pat on the shoulder. "You seem like a very smart and polite young boy," she said, "but I'm afraid we are looking for someone younger." Malik's heart sank. He forced a smile and nodded. "That's okay," he said softly, even though it didn't feel okay at all. The couple walked away, and Malik felt a tear escape from his eye. He quickly wiped it away, hoping no one saw. It wasn't the first time this had happened, but each rejection felt like a little piece of his heart was being torn away. How many more families would pass him by? As he sat there in the quiet room, his heart heavy with sadness, Malik tried to push back the tears that threatened to spill. He had come so close this time. He had hoped so hard. But once again, his skin color had been the reason he was passed over. It was as if his worth didn't matter, only what others saw on the outside. He looked out the window, seeing the sun beginning to set. The sky was filled with beautiful shades of orange and pink. Even though he felt alone, Malik couldn't help but think that maybe one day, someone would see him for who he truly was. Someone would realize that the color of his skin didn't define his worth. But that day didn't come today. The social worker came over and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Malik, it's okay," she said softly. "We'll keep looking for the right family. Someone will choose you." Malik nodded quietly, but inside, he wasn't so sure anymore. How many more families would turn him away? Would he ever find the love and acceptance he so desperately needed? As he left the agency that day, his heart was heavy, but a small spark of hope still lingered deep inside him. Maybe, just maybe, his perfect family was out there waiting for him. And maybe, just maybe, he would be able to show them the real Malik, the boy who was more than his skin color, more than the rejection he had faced. But for now, all he could do was wait and wonder. A glimmer of hope. Malik had returned to the agency many times since that day of rejection. Each visit made his heart heavier, but he refused to give up. He couldn't. Not after all he had been through. Not after all the times he had hoped, only to be let down. But there was still a tiny spark in him that kept flickering. Just the thought that one day he would be chosen. A few weeks had passed since the last rejection, and Malik had spent his days reading books and trying to stay positive. His favorite books were about science, history, and the wonders of the world. He dreamed of being an inventor or a scientist, someone who could change the world. But the reality was hard to ignore. The constant rejection weighed heavily on him. It was a cold, gray morning when he walked into the adoption agency, feeling more down than ever. As usual, the room was filled with children sitting quietly, waiting for a chance to be picked. But today, something felt different. The air was thick with anticipation. Malik couldn't explain it, but there was something in the way the social worker was moving, the way the families were arriving, that made him feel like something was about to change. Malik didn't have the energy to keep his hopes high. He had learned to expect nothing. But as he sat in the corner, waiting his turn, a couple walked in. They were different from the others. This time, the couple didn't just look at the pictures. They walked directly over to the social worker. They were talking in low voices, but Malik could hear their words from where he sat. He heard them ask about the older children. He felt a strange flutter in his stomach. Maybe they were looking for a child like him. His heart started beating faster. Was this the moment he had been waiting for? Could these be the people who would see beyond his skin and notice the boy who loved books, who dreamed of changing the world? Malik's eyes couldn't leave them as they walked toward him. The man, tall and with short, graying hair, looked at Malik first. His eyes weren't cold, but warm and curious. His wife, a woman in her mid-30s with short brown hair, smiled at him gently. She didn't turn away like the others. She didn't look for another child. She focused on him, her gaze soft, kind, like she was trying to understand the boy sitting before her. "Hello, Malik," the woman said with a smile, her voice soft but genuine. "How are you today?" Malik swallowed hard. He didn't know how to respond. His heart was racing, but he pushed aside his nerves and answered as best he could. "I'm good, thank you. How are you?" The man chuckled softly. "We're doing just fine. So tell us, Malik, what do you like to do in your free time?" Malik felt his mind racing. He wanted to impress them. He wanted them to see that he was more than just a boy who had been passed over by so many families. He was intelligent, capable, and eager to learn. "I like reading books, mostly. I love science. I read about everything, from space to history, to how things work. I want to be a scientist one day." The woman smiled even more. "That's wonderful, Malik. A scientist, huh? That's a big dream. Do you have a favorite subject?" Malik felt more comfortable now, like they really cared about his answer. "Yes. I love learning about the stars and the planets and how they all fit together. It's amazing to think about." The couple exchanged a glance, and Malik couldn't help but notice how they looked at each other, like they were silently communicating. His heart pounded harder. Was this it? Was this the family that would finally choose him? They didn't seem to be worried about his skin color. They didn't look at him like he was different. The man spoke again, his voice kind. "You're a very bright young man, Malik. I can tell you have a lot of potential. Have you thought about what kind of family you want to have?" Malik felt a lump in his throat. He had thought about it many times, but he wasn't sure how to answer. The question felt bigger than anything he had imagined. "I just want to be loved," he said quietly. "I want a family that will care about me. I want to feel like I belong." The woman reached out and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "We can see that you are a very special young man, Malik. You have so much to offer, and I believe you'll go far in life." Malik blinked, stunned. No one had ever spoken to him like that. They hadn't just seen his skin color. They hadn't just seen a problem child. They saw his potential. They saw the real him. The couple stood up, and the social worker motioned for Malik to join them. Malik stood and walked toward them, his legs feeling shaky, his mind racing. What was happening? He felt like he was in a dream. The man looked down at him and smiled. "We'd like to learn more about you, Malik," the man said. "Would you be open to spending some time with us? We'd like to see how we can help you reach your dreams." Malik couldn't believe what he was hearing. This was it. This was the moment he had been waiting for. A family that wanted to understand him, to see him for who he truly was. For the first time in a long time, Malik smiled. Really smiled. He didn't know if this was the family for him yet, but he knew one thing. They had given him a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, he had finally found a place where he belonged. The new beginning. Malik could hardly sleep that night. His mind kept replaying everything that had happened at the adoption agency. The kindness of the couple, their genuine interest in him, their words that made him feel like he mattered. It was the first time in so long that he felt like someone truly saw him, not just as a boy who had been rejected over and over, but as a person with hopes, dreams, and potential. The next morning, Malik woke up with a new sense of hope. He knew that this wasn't a guarantee yet, but something inside him told him that things were different now. He was going to give it his all. He quickly got dressed, his mind racing with all the questions he had. What would it be like to spend time with them? What if they really liked him? What if they wanted him to be a part of their family? As he made his way to the kitchen, Malik was quiet, lost in thought. His foster parents, who had raised him since he was a baby, noticed the change in him. They saw the spark in his eyes, something they hadn't seen for a long time. They had always been kind to him, but their resources were limited. They couldn't afford to give him everything he needed to thrive. They couldn't help him chase his big dreams like he deserved. "Malik, are you okay?" his foster mother asked, concern in her voice. She sat across the table from him, folding the laundry. "I'm fine," Malik said, trying to sound calm. "Just thinking about something. Something good, I hope." She smiled, but Malik could see the worry in her eyes. She had always been supportive, but he knew the truth. She couldn't offer him everything he needed. They had tried their best, but things were always a struggle. "Yeah, something good," Malik replied, smiling back. He couldn't bring himself to say too much. His heart was racing with excitement and anxiety. What if this really was the chance he had been waiting for? What if this family could offer him a future he had only dreamed of? That afternoon, Malik met the couple again, just like they had promised. This time, it wasn't at the agency. The couple invited him to their home. Malik didn't know what to expect, but his heart was pounding with excitement. His mind kept telling him, this could be it. This could be the family that would change his life forever. When Malik arrived at their home, he was immediately struck by how warm and welcoming it felt. The house was cozy, with comfortable furniture and large windows that let in the sunlight. The couple greeted him with open arms, and they led him to the kitchen, where they had set up a small lunch. The woman smiled as she placed a sandwich in front of him. "I hope you like turkey and cheese," she said kindly. "I do," Malik said, his voice shaking slightly. He hadn't eaten much that morning. His stomach was filled with nervous excitement. As they ate together, the couple talked to him like they had known him for years. They asked about his favorite books, his dreams of becoming a scientist, and what he liked to do for fun. Malik was amazed at how easy it felt to talk to them. They listened intently, and he could see that they really cared about what he had to say. They didn't just ask questions, they listened. It felt good to be heard, something Malik wasn't used to. After lunch, the man invited Malik to the backyard, where a large garden stretched out behind the house. The man, named Daniel, began to talk about the plants he had grown there, explaining how they had taken years to develop into the beautiful garden they had now. "I've always loved nature," Daniel said, wiping his hands on his pants. "It's a lot of work, but seeing everything grow and change makes it worth it." Malik nodded. "I've read about plants before, how they grow, how they need sunlight and water to survive." Daniel smiled. "That's great. You seem to know a lot about the world around you, Malik. I think you'd love working in the garden with us. There's always something to learn here." Malik smiled shyly. "I think I would like that." The woman, whose name was Lisa, came out with a few books in her hands. She handed one to Malik, the pages worn but full of promise. "I thought you might enjoy this one. It's about the solar system, and it's one of my favorites." Malik's eyes widened. He hadn't expected something so thoughtful. "Thank you," he said softly, his heart swelling with gratitude. Over the next few hours, Malik spent time with Lisa and Daniel, talking, laughing, and exploring their home and garden. For the first time, he felt at peace. It was clear that this family cared about him, that they saw his potential. They didn't see him as a burden or a charity case. They saw a boy with dreams and hopes for the future. As the afternoon came to an end, Daniel and Lisa walked Malik to the door. "We're really glad you came today, Malik," Lisa said with a warm smile. "We'd like to get to know you more, if that's okay with you." Malik felt a lump form in his throat. Was this really happening? Had he finally found a place where he belonged? A family who believed in him? "I'd like that too," he replied, his voice full of emotion. He smiled, the weight of his past rejections slowly lifting from his shoulders. He wasn't sure what would happen next, but he felt more hopeful than ever. The couple smiled back, and for the first time, Malik felt like he had found something real, something that could change his life forever. This was only the beginning of his new journey, and Malik knew one thing for sure. Things were about to change in a way he had never imagined. The unbelievable transformation. The following days felt like a blur to Malik. He spent more time with Lisa and Daniel, getting to know them better. Each day, he felt more and more like he was part of their family. They continued to show interest in his thoughts and dreams, listening intently to everything he said. But what amazed him the most was how much they believed in his potential. At school, Malik had always been a quiet, studious kid. He had dreams, big ones, but he often felt alone in pursuing them. He didn't have the resources or support that other kids seemed to have, and he was constantly told by peers, and even some teachers, that he wasn't cut out for big things. But with Lisa and Daniel, everything felt different. They didn't just talk to him about his dreams, they nurtured them. One afternoon, Lisa sat down with Malik at the kitchen table with a pile of books and papers spread out before them. "Malik," she said, her voice gentle but serious, "we've been talking about it, and we think you have incredible potential. We want to help you reach it." Malik blinked, unsure of what she meant. "What do you mean?" he asked, his heart racing. "We know you want to become a scientist," Daniel said from the doorway. He had been listening from the kitchen, "and we've been looking into some programs that could help you get there. We've already made some calls, and we think you're ready for something more advanced than what's offered at your current school." Malik's jaw dropped. His mind raced with thoughts. Advanced? More opportunities? "You?" Really think I could do that?" he asked, barely able to believe it. "We do," Lisa said, smiling warmly. "You have an incredible mind, Malik, and you deserve the chance to make your dreams come true." For the first time in his life, Malik felt like someone was truly seeing him. Not just his circumstances, not just the color of his skin, but his mind, his passion, his drive. They weren't just saying nice things, they were backing it up with action. The following weeks were a whirlwind of change. Malik found himself spending more time in the library than ever before, reading books on physics, biology, and chemistry. Lisa and Daniel had hired a tutor to work with him on advanced topics, someone who was excited to help Malik explore his intellectual curiosity. The couple also enrolled him in specialized online courses, allowing him to learn subjects that were usually reserved for older students. At first, Malik was overwhelmed. The material was difficult, but with the guidance of Lisa, Daniel, and his tutor, he began to excel. He pushed through the challenges and started to see results. His grades soared, and his understanding of the material deepened. The other students in his class started noticing too. Malik wasn't just the quiet boy in the back of the room anymore. He was the one answering questions, offering ideas, and impressing his teachers with his advanced knowledge. One day, after a particularly difficult physics exam, Malik was sitting in the park, his mind racing with the thoughts of what had just happened. He had finished the test early, and for the first time, he felt confident about his abilities. As he sat there, deep in thought, Daniel came up to him, holding a small package in his hand. "Hey, buddy," Daniel said, sitting down beside him. "How did the test go?" "I think I did well," Malik replied, his eyes bright with excitement. "It felt easier this time. I could actually understand the concepts." "That's fantastic," Daniel said, his face lighting up with pride. "We knew you had it in you." Daniel handed Malik the package, and Malik opened it carefully. Inside, there was a shiny new laptop. "I know it's a little early," Daniel said, "but we thought this might help you with your studies. You'll need it as you move forward, and we want to make sure you have all the tools you need." Malik stared at the laptop, a feeling of disbelief washing over him. A part of him still couldn't fully accept that he was worthy of such kindness, but here it was, proof that they believed in him. "Thank you," Malik whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything," Daniel replied. "Just keep being yourself, Malik. Keep pushing forward. We're so proud of you." For the first time in Malik's life, he had everything he needed to succeed. The resources, the support, the belief, he had it all. And he wasn't going to waste it. As the days went by, Malik's transformation was nothing short of incredible. He had gone from a quiet, uncertain boy with little hope to a confident, driven young man with a clear path ahead of him. His schoolwork improved drastically, and he began to take on more challenging subjects, soaking up every bit of knowledge he could find. But Malik's journey wasn't just about academics. It was about growing into the person he was always meant to be, a person who knew his worth and had the power to change the world. Lisa and Daniel were right to believe in him. And with their help, Malik knew he could achieve anything. As his confidence grew, so did his dreams. He began to think bigger, about college, about research, about the future he had always dreamed of. And for the first time, he knew that no one would ever be able to tell him what he could or couldn't do. In the heart of his new family, Malik had found a place where he could flourish. He was no longer the boy who had been rejected for his skin color. He was the boy who was destined for greatness. And with Lisa and Daniel by his side, there was nothing he couldn't achieve. The struggle and the breakthrough. Malik's transformation wasn't just about the new opportunities in school or the extra resources provided by Lisa and Daniel. There were still many struggles he had to face, both internal and external. While his academic success continued to grow, Malik still carried the weight of his past. He couldn't forget the rejection he had faced earlier in his life, the way people had judged him before even giving him a chance. Despite all the support from his new family, those old feelings of being different, of not quite fitting in, would often resurface. At school, Malik had started to excel in subjects that he once thought were out of his reach. He had even become known for his natural talent in problem-solving. Teachers were impressed by his understanding of complex scientific theories, and his classmates began to notice the change. But with success also came envy. Some students found it hard to accept that a quiet, shy black boy was outshining them. In the halls, there were whispers behind his back. Some would say things like, "What does he know? He doesn't belong here." The worst were the comments about his race, the harsh reminders of how others saw him. One day after school, as Malik walked through the corridors, he overheard a group of boys laughing. "Does he really think he's one of us? He doesn't belong here," one of them said. The comment stung, and for a moment, Malik felt like everything was falling apart. The weight of their words threatened to crush him, reminding him of the rejection he had endured before. He pushed his feelings down, refusing to let them take control, but it wasn't easy. At home, Lisa and Daniel could see something was off. Malik had become quieter, less willing to share his thoughts. He stopped talking about his dreams as much, focusing only on the immediate schoolwork. Lisa, noticing the shift in him, decided to have a heart-to-heart with him one evening. "Malik, what's going on? We can tell something's bothering you," Lisa said gently, sitting beside him on the couch. Malik hesitated. He wasn't used to opening up about his feelings. He had learned to keep them hidden, to deal with them on his own. But Lisa's kindness made him feel safe enough to share. "I don't know," Malik said, his voice tight. I keep hearing things at school about how I don't belong, how I'm just some charity case." His eyes dropped to the floor. "It's hard to shake that feeling, even with all the good stuff that's happening." Lisa took a deep breath and placed a hand on his shoulder. "I want you to listen to me carefully, Malik," she said. "You are not a charity case. You are not just someone we took in because we felt sorry for you. You're here because you have incredible potential. And no one can take that away from you, not even the people who don't understand you." Malik looked up, his eyes filled with uncertainty. "But it's not that simple. They'll always see me as different." Lisa shook her head. "What they see doesn't define you. You define who you are. The world is always going to have people who try to bring you down. But what matters is how you rise above it. And I know you can do it because I've seen you do it every day since you've come into our lives." Daniel, who had been quietly listening from the kitchen, walked over and placed his hand on Malik's other shoulder. "Lisa's right. You've already proven to us that you're capable of more than anyone thought. Don't let anyone make you feel small, Malik. You have a place here, and you're going to do amazing things." The words were powerful, and for the first time in a while, Malik felt the weight on his shoulders lighten. He realized that the rejection and the cruelty of others didn't have to control his future. He wasn't defined by what others thought of him. He was defined by his actions, his determination, and the love and belief that his new family had for him. The next day, Malik walked into school with a new sense of purpose. He wasn't going to let the negative voices distract him anymore. He focused on what mattered: his education, his goals, and the people who supported him. He walked taller, more confident, and determined to continue proving his worth. As the days passed, Malik's brilliance in his studies became undeniable. His teachers began seeking him out for advice and input, knowing that he had a unique way of looking at problems. He even started tutoring some of his classmates, helping them with subjects he had mastered. With every lesson he shared, Malik's self-confidence grew. But it wasn't just about academics anymore. Malik started participating in school events, taking on leadership roles, and becoming a voice for other students who were struggling with their own challenges. He realized that he wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for those who, like him, felt like they didn't belong. One afternoon, during a school assembly, The principal called Malik to the front to receive an award for his academic achievements. As he stood on stage, the applause filled the room, and Malik realized that this moment wasn't just for him. It was for all the kids who had ever been made to feel less than, for all the kids who had been told they didn't belong. He stood tall, knowing that his journey wasn't just about overcoming his own struggles. It was about showing others that they could rise above too. Malik had learned that the only limits were the ones he placed on himself, and with his family by his side, he was unstoppable. The boy who had once been rejected was now the one who was changing lives, and not just his own. The recognition. Malik's transformation didn't go unnoticed. The boy who had once been an outcast was now a star in his school. His academic achievements, his leadership in student organizations, and his positive influence on his peers all painted a picture of someone extraordinary. However, with all the attention came new challenges. Not everyone was ready to accept Malik's success, and as his reputation grew, so did the number of people who tried to put him down. The first time Malik truly realized just how much he had changed was when he walked into school one morning to see a banner hanging across the front of the school, celebrating the achievements of the top students. His name was proudly displayed at the center of the banner, followed by the words, "Malik Johnson, future leader." His heart swelled with pride, but a part of him still felt unsure. Was he really this person now? Was he really the genius, the leader, the role model that everyone said he was? Lisa and Daniel had taught him to embrace his success, but it still felt surreal. As he walked through the school halls, he noticed the looks from his classmates. Some were curious, some were envious, and others were just outright amazed. Malik could feel the weight of their stares, both good and bad. It wasn't easy to be at the center of attention, especially when he had spent most of his life feeling like he was invisible. Despite the mixed reactions, Malik remained focused on his goals. He had learned not to let the opinions of others control him. As he sat down in class, his teacher, Mrs. Daniels, handed him a special certificate. "Malik, I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished," she said with a smile. "You've shown what hard work and determination can do. Keep up the great work." Malik accepted the certificate with a quiet nod, but inside, he was bursting with gratitude. He never thought he would be in this position, the boy who had been rejected for his skin color, now receiving praise from his teachers and peers. But even as he felt proud of his accomplishments, a small part of him couldn't shake the lingering doubt that had followed him for so long. Was he truly accepted? Or was this just a phase, something temporary until the world remembered who he really was? That afternoon, Malik sat with his best friend, Ethan, at lunch. Ethan was the one person who had stuck by him since the beginning. He had never judged Malik based on his race or past, and their friendship had grown stronger with each passing day. Ethan had been the first to see Malik for who he truly was, beyond the stereotypes and assumptions. "You're different now, Malik," Ethan said, eyeing him with admiration. "People actually look up to you." Malik shrugged, trying to seem modest. "I guess." The words were powerful, and for the first time in a while, Malik felt the weight on his shoulders lighten. He realized that the rejection and the cruelty of others didn't have to control his future. He wasn't defined by what others thought of him. He was defined by his actions, his determination, and the love and belief that his new family had for him. The next day, Malik walked into school with a new sense of purpose. He wasn't going to let the negative voices distract him anymore. He focused on what mattered: his education, his goals, and the people who supported him. He walked taller, more confident, and determined to continue proving his worth. As the days passed, Malik's brilliance in his studies became undeniable. His teachers began seeking him out for advice and input, knowing that he had a unique way of looking at problems. He even started tutoring some of his classmates, helping them with subjects he had mastered. With every lesson he shared, Malik's self-confidence grew. But it wasn't just about academics anymore. Malik started participating in school events, taking on leadership roles, and becoming a voice for other students who were struggling with their own challenges. He realized that he wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for those who, like him, felt like they didn't belong. One afternoon during a school assembly, the principal called Malik to the front to receive an award for his academic achievements. As he stood on stage, the applause filled the room, and Malik realized that this moment wasn't just for him. It was for all the kids who had ever been made to feel less than, for all the kids who had been told they didn't belong. He stood tall, knowing that his journey wasn't just about overcoming his own struggles. It was about showing others that they could rise above too. Malik had learned that the only limits were the ones he placed on himself, and with his family by his side, he was unstoppable. The boy who had once been rejected was now the one who was changing lives, and not just his own. The recognition. Malik's transformation didn't go unnoticed. The boy who had once been an outcast was now a star in his school. His academic achievements, his leadership in student organizations, and his positive influence on his peers all painted a picture of someone extraordinary. However, with all the attention came new challenges. Not everyone was ready to accept Malik's success, and as his reputation grew, so did the number of people who tried to put him down. The first time Malik truly realized just how much he had changed was when he walked into school one morning to see a banner hanging across the front of the school, celebrating the achievements of the top students. His name was proudly displayed at the center of the banner, followed by the words, "Malik Johnson, future leader." His heart swelled with pride, but a part of him still felt unsure. Was he really this person now? Was he really the genius, the leader, the role model that everyone said he was? Lisa and Daniel had taught him to embrace his success, but it still felt surreal. As he walked through the school halls, he noticed the looks from his classmates. Some were curious, some were envious, and others were just outright amazed. Malik could feel the weight of their stares, both good and bad. It wasn't easy to be at the center of attention, especially when he had spent most of his life feeling like he was invisible. Despite the mixed reactions, Malik remained focused on his goals. He had learned not to let the opinions of others control him. As he sat down in class, his teacher, Mrs. Daniels, handed him a special certificate. "Malik, I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished," she said with a smile. "You've shown what hard work and determination can do. Keep up the great work." Malik accepted the certificate with a quiet nod, but inside, he was bursting with gratitude. He never thought he would be in this position. The boy who had been rejected for his skin color, now receiving praise from his teachers and peers. But even as he felt proud of his accomplishments, a small part of him couldn't shake the lingering doubt that had followed him for so long. Was he truly accepted? Or was this just a phase, something temporary until the world remembered who he really was? That afternoon, Malik sat with his best friend, Ethan, at lunch. Ethan was the one person who had stuck by him since the beginning. He had never judged Malik based on his race or past, and their friendship had grown stronger with each passing day. Ethan had been the first to see Malik for who he truly was, beyond the stereotypes and assumptions. "You're different now, Malik," Ethan said, eyeing him with admiration. "People actually look up to you." Malik shrugged, trying to seem modest. "I guess." A life changed forever. Malik's journey had been anything but easy. From the rejection he faced because of his skin color to his eventual triumph, it seemed like every step was a battle. But now, as he stood at the threshold of his future, it was clear that he had not only changed his own life, but had also impacted those around him in ways that no one had ever imagined. His story was no longer just his own. It had become a source of inspiration for others who had been overlooked, judged, or told they couldn't achieve their dreams. As graduation day approached, Malik found himself reflecting on the incredible journey he had been through. He remembered the days when he wondered if he would ever belong. He remembered the fear of never being good enough, of never fitting into a world that seemed so focused on appearances. But now, standing at the top of his class, those fears had faded away. They had been replaced with confidence, pride, and most importantly, a deep sense of gratitude. The ceremony was held in the school's gymnasium, filled with proud parents and excited graduates. Malik's heart raced as his name was called to walk across the stage. As he made his way up to accept his diploma, he could hear his classmates cheering, some of them even standing in applause. It was a moment he had never dreamed would come. He had made it. He had proven everyone who doubted him wrong. As Malik shook hands with the principal, he could feel the weight of the years of struggle and triumph. But it wasn't just his victory. It was a victory for all the people who had supported him along the way. Lisa, Daniel, Ethan, and countless others had believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. They had shown him the power of unconditional love, and they had taught him that he was more than just his past, more than the color of his skin. After the ceremony, Malik was surrounded by friends and family, all eager to congratulate him. His heart swelled with pride as he looked at Lisa and Daniel, the couple who had adopted him when no one else would. They had always been there for him, and now they were the ones watching him take the next step into adulthood. "We are so proud of you, Malik," Lisa said, her eyes glistening with tears. "You've done more than we ever imagined. You've turned your life around, and you've made us better people, too." Malik smiled, feeling a rush of emotion. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said. "You too believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself." Daniel nodded, a proud smile on his face. "You've shown the world what you're capable of, Malik, and there's so much more ahead for you." As the day went on, Malik couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement about the future. College was just around the corner, and with it came new challenges and new opportunities. But now he faced the future with a new sense of purpose. He wasn't just a boy trying to prove something to the world. He was a young man who had already proven his worth. And as he looked ahead, he knew that whatever challenges he would face, he would overcome them with the same determination and strength that had brought him this far. But Malik wasn't just thinking about his own success. He was thinking about the impact he could have on the world around him. He knew that his story was only one of many, and he wanted to be a voice for others who were struggling, who felt like they didn't belong, or who had been told they couldn't achieve their dreams. Malik was determined to help others find their way, just as Lisa and Daniel had helped him. In the months that followed, Malik's story began to spread. His achievements were highlighted in local news, and people from all walks of life reached out to him, asking for advice, for encouragement, and for hope. Malik began speaking at community events, sharing his experiences with others, and encouraging them to never give up on their dreams. His message was simple: no matter who you are, where you come from, or what others think of you, you can achieve greatness if you believe in yourself and work hard every day. One evening, as Malik sat at home reflecting on everything he had accomplished, he received a message from a former classmate. The message read, "I just wanted to say thank you for inspiring me. I've been struggling for a long time, and your story gave me the strength to keep going. You made me believe that I can make something of myself, no matter what."